Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel English for Intermediate Classes. This is Deepak Kumar Best, lecturer GIC Chorasan. Today I am going to describe the summary of the first chapter from Vista's textbook, The Third Level, written by Jack Finney. This is a short story by Jack Finney. So first of all, I would like to give you the introduction of the genre of short story. What is a short story actually? Short story is a genre of literature which consists of a story and characters, and it is a smaller form of novel. Novel and short stories both are fiction, and they consist of characters and the story. The magnitude of story and characters are smaller in short stories and larger in novel. And the fiction are of different kinds, like moralistic, sentimental, holistic, gothic, detective, realistic, patriotic, absurd, futuristic, scientific, etc. The third level is short story by Jack Finney, roughly belongs to the genre of scientific fiction, in which Jack Finney, an American writer, has depicted the concept of time travel. Now, background of the story. The third level short story collection by Jack Finney was published in 1957, when world has already seen two great wars, World War I and World War II. The third level by Jack Finney is about the harsh realities of war. War has irreversible consequences, thus leaving people in a state of insecurity and anxiety. It is about modern day problem and how common man tends to escape reality by various means. In this story, a man named Charlie hallucinates and reaches the third level of the Grand Central Station, which has only two levels. That means that he reaches the third level, which actually doesn't exist. It is an engrossing story set in 1950s. The story is studded with numerous undertones of irony. It takes you back in time of 1894, when people hadn't seen two of the bloodiest wars in the history of mankind. The story brings to light the fact that figments of someone's imagination can be used to escape from reality. The story clearly explores the concept of time travel. Jack Finney explores the mentality of common man. He succeeds in exposing the vulnerable side of a common man. A myriad of problems conspired to corrupt Charlie's mind. It further robbed him of his senses, and in his panic-induced state, he hallucinated about the third level at the Grand Central Station, New York. Even though it was hard for Charlie to believe his eyes, he decided to stay there in the year 1894. Jack Finney brings out a common man's craving for peace and security. Charlie wanted to stay in the past because 1894 was much more peaceful, secure, and serene. The world in 1894 hadn't seen the repercussion or aftermaths of war. The insecurities, terror, and anxiety came with war, and common folks like Charlie wanted a transient relief, a temporary relief from the harsh realities of life. All in all, the third level brings us to the conclusion that people find it hard to make peace with unpleasant things they come across in life. The story further makes the reader realize that the past and future are real illusions. That means they are imaginary things or they are not real, they are not existing at the real time. They exist in the present, which is all there is. Means we exist in the present, and this is all the reality is. Introduction of the story. Now, the story revolves around a 31-year-old man named Charlie, who is a married man, who experienced something weird or strange. There are two levels at the Grand Central Station, New York, but Charlie, the protagonist of the story, asserts that there is third level too. He uses the third level to escape from the unpleasant life of New York to the pleasant life of Galesburg, Illinois. Because Galesburg, Illinois was a wonderful place which in which he had um, he has been earlier as well. Now, summary of the story. Charlie was 31 years old when married to Louisa. Several times he had lost himself in the Grand Central Station. He always found himself bumping into new doorways and new corridors. Every time he had a new experience. He even had begun to believe that Grand Central was like a huge tree ever pushing new tunnels, new corridors, like the roots under the ground. Means, as the tree grows underground, its roots divides into branches, as its stem also divides into branches and branches further divides into branches. The same way he thought that the Grand Central Station of New York has been extending, has been growing. Once he got into a mile-long tunnel and came out in the lobby of a hotel. At another time, he came up into the building of an office. There were certainly only two levels at the Grand Central, but Charlie asserted that there were three levels. He talked about it to his friends. One of them was his psychiatrist friend. The psychiatrist said that it was nothing but daydreaming. He explained that it was only an escape from his present life. The modern world was full of fear, tension, and worries. The third level provided him an exit from it. His other friends agreed with the psychiatrist. They said that his stamp collecting was also a temporary escape from the realities of the world. Charlie did not agree with them. He said that his grandfather started the stamp collection, and in his grandfather's days, life was peaceful. He did not need an escape because he was happy with his life at that time. It was a wonderful time. Besides, President Roosevelt also collected stamps. One day, Charlie got late from his office. He wanted to reach home soon, so he went to the Grand Central to catch a train. He walked down to the first level and then walked down another flight of stairs. He thought he had reached the second level again, but he got lost. He walked down the corridor. He thought it was wrong, but he walked on to downward. He walked down a short flight of stairs. He thought that he had reached the second level again, but actually he had reached the third level. The third level was entirely different and old fashioned. There were fewer ticket windows. The information booth was made of wood. The lights were open flame gas lights. There were brass spittoons on the floor. Men had beards and sideburns. Women wore old fashioned dresses, high buttoned shoes. He observed that the people wearing derby hats and gold watches, which they kept in their vest pockets. He also sees a courier and Ives locomotive. The railway engine was small with funnel-shaped stack. Everything looked a century old. He walked to the newsboy. There he glanced at the World, the newspaper which has not been published for years. That means it was an old publication which was not now. The lead story was about President Cleveland. Later, Charlie found out from the library files that it was printed on June 11, 1894. That means he traveled into the times of 1894. That is why it's called a story of time travel. Charlie wanted to go to Galesburg. He had been there in his childhood days. It was a wonderful town with tremendous trees and farmhouses. In 1894, it was a heaven of peace and tranquility. People lived a carefree life, so he asked for 2 tickets to Galesburg. He paid the fare in modern notes, which were different from those in 1894. The clerk thought the notes were fake and Charlie was trying to cheat him. He threatened to get him arrested. Charlie immediately turned around and fled as fast as he could. Next day, Charlie bought old style notes from a coin dealer. He got only 200 old dollars for 300 new dollars. But he could never again find the corridor that led to the third level. That corridor was lost. He could not find it again. He tried so hard, but he failed in his attempt to find it again. Charlie's wife was worried when she heard that he had bought old style notes. So Charlie turned to his stamp collection again. One day, among his grandfather's collection of first day covers are the stamp collection means when the first day some stamp is published, people used to send uh, a letter, a blank letter to themselves so that it can be certified with the date from the postmaster. So this is called the first day covers. He discovered an envelope. The postmark showed that it had been there since July 1894. He opened the envelope, but the paper inside was not blank. It was a letter from Sam, the psychiatrist friend whom Charlie had often told about Galesburg. He had already gone there. He urged Charlie to continue to look for the third level and join him in the Galesburg of 1894. It was a wonderful place. Later, Charlie learned that Sam had bought $800 worth of old currency. Charlie hoped Sam would have set up hay and feed business in Galesburg, and that was what he had always wished to do. So that's it for the summary of the story, the last lesson. Thank you and goodbye.